The warning lights flashed red across the control panel. Tay gripped the steering controls as his cargo ship shook violently. Something had gone very wrong with the engine, and now he was falling toward the green planet below. Come on, Tay muttered, trying to restart the main systems. Nothing worked. The ship kept spinning downward through the clouds. He had been a pilot for 5 years, carrying supplies between human colonies. This was supposed to be a simple route. The planet below was marked as empty on all the maps. No cities, no people, nothing, just trees and rocks. The ground rushed up to meet him. Tay pulled hard on the controls, trying to slow down. The ship hit the treetops with a terrible crashing sound. Branches broke against the hull. Metal screamed. Then everything went dark. When Tay opened his eyes, his head hurt badly. He touched his forehead and his hand came away bloody. The ship had stopped moving. Through the cracked window, he could see strange purple trees all around him. He unbuckled his safety belt and stood up slowly. His left arm ached, but nothing seemed broken. The ship was a mess. Supplies had fallen everywhere. The communication system was completely destroyed. Smoke came from the engine room. Tay grabbed his emergency pack and climbed out through the damaged door. The air outside was warm and smelled like flowers. The trees were tall with crystal-like bark that reflected light in rainbow colors. He had never seen anything like this before. He checked his water supply. 1 bottle left. That would last maybe 2 days if he was careful. He needed to find water soon. Tay started walking through the forest, marking trees as he went so he could find his way back to the ship. The ground was soft under his boots. Strange insects buzzed around colorful plants. Everything here was beautiful, but alien. After walking for about an hour, he heard something. It sounded like crying, high-pitched and scared. Tay stopped and listened carefully. There it was again. He followed the sound through thick bushes. The crying got louder. Then he saw it. A small creature was trapped under fallen tree branches. The branches looked like they were made of heavy crystal. They had fallen across the creature's leg, pinning it to the ground. Tay moved closer, carefully. The creature looked up at him with huge, silver eyes. It had smooth lavender skin and small hands. It was clearly a child, though not a human one. The child made frightened sounds and tried to pull away from him. "Hey, it's okay," Tay said softly, holding up his hands. "I'm here to help." The child didn't understand his words, but his calm voice seemed to help. It stopped trying to pull away and just watched him with those big eyes. Tay examined the situation. The crystal branches were heavy, probably too heavy for the small creature to lift. But Tay was human, and humans were strong. He positioned himself next to the biggest branch and wrapped his arms around it. He lifted. The branch was incredibly heavy, maybe 200 pounds. Tay's muscles strained, but he raised it up inch by inch. The child pulled its leg free and scrambled backward. Tay carefully lowered the branch and turned to look at the child. It was holding its leg and making small pain sounds. The leg looked badly scraped, but not broken. He slowly opened his emergency pack and took out the medical kit. The child watched nervously as he approached. Tay moved very slowly, showing each item before using it. He cleaned the scrapes gently and wrapped the leg with bandage. The child touched the white bandage with wonder. Then it looked up at Tay and made a soft chirping sound. It almost sounded like, "Thank you." Tay smiled. "You're welcome, little one." The sun was getting low in the sky. It would be dark soon. Tay looked around and made a decision. He couldn't leave the injured child alone in the forest. He would have to take it with him. He held out his hand. The child looked at it for a long moment, then reached out and took it. Its hand was tiny in his. They walked back toward the crashed ship together, the child limping slightly. By the time they reached the ship, the sky was turning dark purple. 2 moons rose above the trees, casting silver light across everything. Tay made a shelter using pieces from the damaged ship. He started a small fire using the emergency heat unit. The child sat near the fire, watching everything Tay did with curiosity. He opened one of his food packs and offered half to the child. It sniffed the food carefully, then took a tiny bite. Its face brightened and it ate more. They sat together in the firelight, stranger and stranger, sharing a meal on an alien world. As the child fell asleep curled up near the fire, Tay noticed something moving in the darkness beyond the trees. Glowing eyes watched them from the shadows. Many eyes. He added more power to the fire and kept his emergency knife close. This planet was not empty like the maps said. There were intelligent beings here, and now he had one of their children. Tay wondered what would happen when its family found them. Would they be grateful? Angry? He had no way to know. He didn't even know if the child's people were friendly or dangerous. The child made a small sound in its sleep. Tay looked down at it. Whatever happened, he had done the right thing by saving it. That's what humans did. They helped others, even strangers from different worlds. He stayed awake through the night, keeping watch over the small creature he had rescued. The glowing eyes in the forest watched back, never coming closer, but never leaving. Tomorrow would bring answers. Tonight, Tay just hoped those answers wouldn't include weapons pointed at him. The moons moved across the sky. The fire burned low, and somewhere in the alien forest, drums began to beat, carrying a message through the darkness. Tay woke to the sound of footsteps, many footsteps, all around his shelter. He sat up quickly, reaching for his knife. The child beside him was still sleeping peacefully. The fire had gone out during the night, leaving only warm ashes. Through the gaps in his makeshift shelter, Tay could see figures standing in a circle around them. Tall, thin shapes in the morning mist. They were completely silent, just standing there, watching. Tay's heart pounded. There had to be at least 30 of them, maybe more. He was surrounded with no way to escape. He gently shook the child awake. It opened its silver eyes and looked up at him. Then it heard the sounds outside, and its eyes went wide with recognition. The child made excited chirping sounds and tried to stand up. Tay helped it to its feet. Together they stepped out of the shelter. The beings standing in the forest were like the child, but fully grown. They had the same lavender skin and silver eyes, but they were tall, at least 7 feet. Their bodies were thin and graceful, with long fingers and delicate features. They wore flowing clothes made of shimmering material. Each one carried a weapon. The weapons looked like long staffs that glowed with blue light at one end. Energy weapons, Tay realized. Advanced technology. The circle parted and one figure walked forward. She was taller than the others, with elaborate markings on her skin that seemed to glow faintly. She wore a crown made of the same crystal material as the trees. Her face was beautiful, but filled with worry. The child saw her and cried out joyfully. It tried to run forward, but its injured leg made it stumble. Tay caught it before it fell. The crowned woman rushed forward and dropped to her knees. She gathered the child into her arms, making soft sounds. Tears ran down her face. The child chirped and chattered, pointing at Tay several times. The woman looked up at Tay. Her silver eyes studied him carefully, taking in his strange appearance, his different clothes, his alien face. Then she stood, still holding the child on her hip. One of the warriors stepped forward and held out a small device. The woman took it and touched something on its surface. When she spoke, her melodic voice was followed by mechanical words in a language Tay could understand. "You are not of this world," the device translated. "What are you?" "I'm human," Tay said. "My ship crashed. I found your child trapped in the forest. I helped it." The woman listened to the translation, then spoke again. "I am Queen Arin of the Velati people. This is my daughter, Lyra. We have searched for her since yesterday's sun. The forest is dangerous. How did you move the crystal branches?" Tay glanced at the child, Lyra. I just lifted them. They were heavy, but not impossible. Queen Erin's eyes widened. She spoke quickly to the warriors around her. They looked at Tay with new interest, almost disbelief. You lifted the branches alone? The translation device asked. Without machines? Yes, Tay said, confused. Why is that surprising? The queen said something to one of her warriors. He walked over to a fallen crystal branch, similar to the ones that had trapped Lyra. He grabbed it with both hands and tried to lift it. The warrior pulled and strained, but the branch barely moved off the ground. Another warrior came to help. Together they managed to lift it a few inches. Tay understood now. These people were weak. Not weak compared to children, but weak compared to humans. That branch he had lifted alone would take several of them working together. Queen Erin watched his face carefully. Your kind is very strong, she said through the device. Lyra says you moved 3 branches by yourself. You also gave her medicine and food. You protected her through the night. Anyone would have done the same, Tay said. Perhaps where you come from, the queen replied. But here such strength is rare. Such kindness to a stranger's child is precious. She paused, then spoke formally. You have saved the life of my daughter. By the ancient laws of the Velothi, I am in your debt. You will come with us to our city. We will honor you properly. It wasn't really a question. Tay looked at the warriors with their glowing weapons and understood. He was being invited, but refusing would be unwise. My ship is damaged, Tay said. I need to repair my communication system. Can you help with that? Queen Erin smiled slightly. We have technology far beyond your crashed vessel. Come to our city. We will discuss what can be done. She turned and spoke to her warriors. They began moving through the forest in formation. 2 warriors carefully lifted Tay's emergency pack, working together to carry what he had carried easily alone. Tay walked beside the queen. Lyra kept looking back at him from her mother's arms, smiling with her small face. How long did you search for her? Tay asked. The queen's expression became pained. Since sunset yesterday, she wandered from our festival celebration. By the time we noticed she was gone, she had gone deep into the forest. We sent every warrior we had, but the forest is thick, and we are not made for such terrain. Our bodies are fragile. We cannot climb or push through heavy growth as you did. Tay noticed now that the warriors moved carefully around bushes and low branches. What would have been easy walking for a human required them to find careful paths. The crystal branches fell on her during the night, the queen continued. We heard her cries, but could not reach her in the darkness. When dawn came, we were still searching. She looked at Tay with genuine gratitude. If you had not found her, if you had not been strong enough to free her, my daughter would have died. They walked in silence for a while. The forest began to change. The trees became more organized, almost like they had been planted in patterns. Then Tay saw structures ahead. The Velothi city was incredible. Buildings rose from the crystal trees themselves, woven into the natural formations. Bridges of light connected different levels. Everything glowed with soft colors. It was beautiful and clearly very advanced. Velothi people stopped to stare as they entered the city. Word spread quickly. The missing princess had returned. A strange alien had saved her. Queen Erin led Tay to a large building at the city's center. Inside, the rooms were filled with technology Tay didn't recognize. Screens showed images without any visible projectors. Objects floated in the air without support. These will be your quarters, the queen said, showing him to a spacious room. Rest. Eat. Tonight we will hold a feast in your honor. Tay looked at the comfortable room. And my ship? We will discuss that after you are properly thanked, the queen said. Something in her voice made Tay uneasy, but he couldn't quite identify what. As the Queen left with Lyra, the small child waved goodbye. Tay waved back, smiling despite his concerns. He was in an alien city, surrounded by people he didn't understand, with technology far beyond his own. He needed their help to get home. Tay just hoped the price of that help wouldn't be too high. 3 days had passed since Ty arrived in Luminara, the crystal city of the Valathi. Each day was stranger than the last. The feast on the first night had been overwhelming. Hundreds of Valathi had gathered to see the alien who saved their princess. They brought gifts, strange foods, and asked endless questions through translation devices. Tay had tried to be polite, but he felt like an animal in a zoo. Now he stood on a high balcony, looking out over the city. The crystal buildings caught the morning light and scattered it into rainbows. It was beautiful, but Tay wanted to go home. "Good morning," a voice said behind him. Queen Arin stepped onto the balcony, carrying a small tray with food. She no longer wore her crown, just simple, elegant clothes. "I thought you might be hungry." "Thank you," Tay said, taking the tray. The food was strange but tasted good. "Where's Lyra?" "With her tutors. She must continue her education." The Queen smiled. "Though she talks about you constantly. You have made quite an impression on my daughter." Tay ate in silence for a moment, then decided to be direct. "I need to talk about my ship. I've been here 3 days. Every time I ask about the communication repairs, someone tells me, 'soon' or 'we're working on it.' I need real answers." Queen Arin's expression became serious. She looked out at the city. "Walk with me. There are things you need to understand about my people." They walked through the palace halls. Valathi servants bowed as the Queen passed. Tay noticed how they struggled with simple tasks. 2 servants worked together to carry a tray of dishes. Another used a floating platform to reach a high shelf rather than climb. "We are an old species," the Queen began. "We have existed for thousands of years. We built amazing technology. We travel between stars. We cure diseases. We create art and music that would make you weep with joy." She paused at a window overlooking the forest. "But we are weak." "I noticed," Tay said carefully. "Our homeworld had low gravity. When we evolved, there was no need for strong bodies. Intelligence was what mattered. We built tools to do physical work." She turned to face him. "Then we came here, to Valara. This world has resources we need. The gravity is higher than our homeworld, but manageable. We built cities. We thought we could adapt." They continued walking. The Queen led him outside to a garden area. Crystal flowers grew in careful patterns. "The problem is the Raviks," she continued. "They are creatures native to this world, large, fast, and very aggressive. They began attacking our settlements 5 years ago. At first, it was just small groups. We drove them away with our weapons. But it got worse," Tay guessed. "Much worse. The attacks increased. Our weapons work at distance, but if a Ravik gets close, we cannot fight it physically. One Ravik can kill several of my people before we stop it. We have lost entire settlements." Pain filled her voice. "We are dying here, Tay, slowly but certainly." They sat on a bench near a fountain. Tay was beginning to understand. "You want my help," he said. "I want more than that." Queen Arin looked at him intensely. "I saw you lift those crystal branches. I watched you walk for hours through terrain that exhausts my warriors. Your kind has something we desperately need: physical strength." Before Tay could respond, excited chirping sounds interrupted them. Lyra came running across the garden. Her injured leg now healed. She crashed into Tay's arms, chattering happily. Tay laughed and picked her up easily. "Hey, little one, shouldn't you be studying?" Lyra chirped and pointed at something behind them. A tall Velothi male approached, wearing a serious expression. He carried a training weapon. "This is Commander Hanul," Queen Arin said. "He leads our warriors. I asked him to join us." Commander Hanul bowed slightly to Tay. When he spoke, his translation device made his voice sound formal. "I have heard stories of your strength. I would like to see a demonstration." "A demonstration?" Tay asked. The commander pointed to a large stone in the garden. "That stone is used for strength training. My best warriors can push it across the garden together. I am curious if you can move it alone." Tay set Lyra down and walked to the stone. It was roughly cube-shaped, maybe 3 feet on each side. He put his hands on it and pushed. The stone moved smoothly across the grass. Commander Hanul's eyes widened. He gestured to 4 of his warriors who had been standing nearby. Together, the 4 of them pushed another similar stone. They struggled and strained, barely managing to move it as fast as Tay had moved his. "Incredible," the commander muttered. "Your species must be fearsome warriors." "We can be," Tay admitted, "but we prefer peace when possible." "As do we," Queen Arin said, "which is why what I'm about to say is difficult." She stood and spoke formally. "Tay of humanity, you saved my daughter's life. By our laws, I owe you a life debt. This debt must be repaid." "You've already thanked me," Tay said. "The feast, these rooms, the gifts. It's more than enough." "No," the queen said quietly. "In Velothi culture, a life debt is not repaid with simple gifts. It must be balanced with equal value." She met his eyes. "I cannot let you leave until the debt is balanced." Tay felt cold. "What does that mean?" "It means you are our guest," the queen said. "An honored guest. But you cannot leave until you have given us something equal to the life of my daughter." "You're holding me prisoner," Tay said flatly. "I am honoring our laws," Queen Arin replied. "I am sorry, but I am also a queen before I am a grateful mother. My people are dying. You represent hope for survival." Tay looked around at the warriors who had quietly surrounded the garden. Their weapons were not drawn, but they were ready. "What do you want from me?" he asked. "Teach us," the queen said. "Show my warriors how humans fight. Help us defend our people. Do this, and the debt will be balanced. You will be free to go." "And if I refuse?" Queen Arin's expression was pained but firm. "Then you will live here comfortably for the rest of your life. You will have everything except freedom." Lyra tugged on Tay's shirt, not understanding the tension, but sensing something was wrong. She looked up at him with worried silver eyes. Tay's mind raced. He was trapped on an alien world, surrounded by people far more advanced than humans, but physically weak. They needed him, and they weren't going to let him go. "How long?" he asked. "How long would this training take?" "That depends on you," Commander Hanul said. "But our need is urgent. The Raviks will attack again soon." Tay looked at Lyra, then at the queen, then at the beautiful crystal city beyond the garden. These people had saved him from dying in the forest by giving him shelter and food. But now they were his captors, however gentle they might be. "I need time to think," Tay said. "Of course," Queen Arin said softly, "but think quickly. Yesterday we lost another settlement. 12 people died. Every day we wait. More of my people will die." She walked away, leaving Ty alone with Commander Hanul and the warriors. The commander approached and spoke quietly. "I know this is not fair to you, but she is desperate. We all are." Tay picked up Lyra, who wrapped her small arms around his neck. "Tell me about these Raviks," he said. "Tell me everything." Commander Hanul began to speak, and Tay listened carefully. If he was trapped here, he might as well understand what he was trapped in. The sun moved across the sky. In the crystal city of Luminara, a human made plans, while an alien child fell asleep in his arms, and a queen watched from her window with hope and guilt warring in her heart. 1 week had crawled by like a prison sentence. Tay spent his days exploring the Crystal City, always with guards following at a polite distance. They called themselves his honor escort, but he knew the truth. They were there to make sure he didn't try to leave. Every morning he asked about his ship. Every morning he got vague answers. The parts were being gathered. The repairs were complex. Someone would update him soon. He knew they were stalling. Today, the guards informed him that Queen Aren requested his presence in the throne room. Not asked. Requested. Tay put on the clean clothes the Velati had given him and followed his escort through the palace. The throne room was massive, with walls made of clear crystal that showed the forest beyond. Dozens of Velati filled the space, all of them watching as Tay entered. Queen Aren sat on a throne that seemed to grow from the floor itself. Lyra sat on a smaller seat beside her, swinging her legs happily when she saw Tay. "Thank you for coming," the queen said formally. Her translation device echoed through the room. "Please stand here." She gestured to a spot in front of the throne. Tay walked forward, feeling all the eyes on him. He recognized some faces now. Commander Hanel stood to the queen's right. An elderly Velati female with white markings on her lavender skin stood to the left. He had seen her before, but never learned her name. "I have called this assembly to discuss our future," Queen Aren began. "As you all know, we face extinction on this world. The Ravik attacks grow worse each season. We have lost 3 more settlements just this month. 47 of our people are dead." Murmurs ran through the crowd. Tay saw fear and grief on many faces. "We have tried everything," the queen continued. "Better weapons, stronger barriers, warning systems. Nothing works. The Raviks adapt, they learn, and we are simply too fragile to fight them when they breach our defenses." The elderly Velati woman stepped forward. "This is Elder Yuna," the queen said. "She is keeper of our history and traditions. She has something to share." Elder Yuna's voice was thin but clear. "In our oldest records, there is a prophecy. It speaks of a time when the Velati would face destruction. It says that salvation would come from the sky, from those who are strong where we are weak. For generations, we thought this meant advanced weapons or machines." She looked directly at Tay. "We were wrong. It meant people." Tay felt uncomfortable with everyone staring at him. "When Tay arrived," Elder Yuna continued, "I consulted the texts. His kind, these humans, they possess exactly what we lack. Not just strength of body, but endurance, adaptability, the ability to think quickly in physical combat. These are gifts we evolved away from long ago." "What are you saying?" Tay asked, though he already knew the answer. Queen Aren stood from her throne. "I am saying that you represent hope, but one human cannot save an entire species." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. "I am asking you to stay. Not as a prisoner, though I know that is how you feel now. Stay as our teacher, our military advisor. Help us learn to survive." "I have a life," Tay said, his frustration finally breaking through. "I have family, friends, a home. You can't just keep me here because you need help." "I understand your anger," the queen said, "but let me show you something." She made a gesture and the crystal walls changed. They displayed images like massive screens. The images showed Velati settlements, happy families, children playing, scholars working on beautiful art and science. Then the images changed, Raviks attacking. The creatures were huge, covered in thick scales, with multiple legs and snapping jaws. Tay watched Velati warriors try to fight back. Their energy weapons worked, but the Raviks were fast. One warrior went down, then another. People screamed and ran. "This was 3 days ago," Queen Aren said quietly. The settlement of Crystal Falls. We lost 19 people in 15 minutes. 5 of them were children. Tay felt sick. The images disappeared, leaving the crystal walls clear again. I am not a good person for keeping you here, the Queen said. I know this. I struggle with it every day. But I am a queen. My duty is to my people, even when that duty requires me to make choices that hurt others. So I have no choice at all, Tay said bitterly. You have a choice, Commander Hanul spoke up. You can refuse to help us. Live here comfortably until we find another solution or until the Ravix destroy us all. Or you can choose to make a difference. Some choice, Tay muttered. Lyra climbed down from her seat and ran to Tay. She hugged his leg, looking up at him with those big silver eyes. She chirped something that the translation device rendered as, "Please don't be sad." Tay picked her up. She was so light, so fragile. He thought about the images of the children who had died. They probably looked just like Lyra. What exactly would I be doing? He asked. Queen Erin looked hopeful. Train our warriors. Teach them human fighting techniques. Help us understand how to use our physical limitations better. Work with our engineers to design defenses that account for our weakness. I'm not a soldier, Tay said. I was a medic in the military years ago. I carried cargo ships. You have more combat experience than anyone in this room, Commander Hanul said. You understand tactics, strategy, how to fight when you are outmatched. That is exactly what we need. Elder Yuna spoke again. There is also the matter of the life debt. Our laws are clear. The debt must be balanced. So let's talk about that, Tay said, setting Lyra down. What would balance this debt? Give me a clear goal. The Queen and the Elder exchanged looks. Finally, the Queen spoke. Help us survive 1 full season, 4 months. If by the end of that time we have reduced our casualties and improved our defenses, the debt will be considered balanced. And then I can leave? Then you can leave, the Queen confirmed. You have my word on my crown and my daughter's life. Tay thought hard. 4 months. It was a long time, but it was finite, and if he refused, they would just keep him here indefinitely. I want access to your communication systems, Tay said. I need to send a message to human space. Let them know I'm alive. That could bring more humans here, Elder Yuna said suspiciously. Yes, it could, Tay agreed. And maybe that's what you need. Maybe the answer isn't trapping one human and squeezing him for knowledge. Maybe it's establishing a real relationship with my people. Queen Arin considered this. You may send one message. It will be reviewed before transmission. Fine, Tay said. I also want regular updates on my ship repairs. Agreed. And Lyra needs to stop skipping her studies to follow me around. The Queen smiled slightly. That might be the hardest condition to enforce. Tay looked around the throne room at all the watching faces. They looked desperate, hopeful, scared. He thought about the settlement that had been attacked. 19 dead in 15 minutes. He sighed deeply. All right, 4 months. I'll train your warriors and help however I can. But after that, I'm gone. No more debts, no more obligations. Relief washed over the Queen's face. Thank you. You will not regret this. I already regret it, Tay said. But I'll do it anyway. The room erupted in excited chatter. Commander Hanul approached and clasped Tay's arm in a Velathi gesture of respect. We begin training tomorrow at dawn. Of course we do, Tay muttered. As the assembly broke up, Queen Erin approached Tay privately. I know you think poorly of me now, but I promise you, when this is over, you will leave with honor and friendship. I'll settle for just leaving, Tay said. The Queen nodded sadly and walked away. Lyra stayed behind, holding Tay's hand. You stay? She asked in her chirping voice. For a while, Tay said. She smiled brightly and hugged him again. Tay looked out the crystal walls at the forest beyond. Somewhere out there, Raviks were hunting, and now it was his job to teach these fragile, gentle people how to survive. He had been a cargo pilot. Before that, a medic. Now he was apparently a military trainer for an alien species. Life, Tay thought, had gotten very strange very quickly. The training ground was a flat area outside the city, surrounded by crystal trees. 40 Velothi warriors stood in neat rows, watching Tay with curiosity and uncertainty. They wore light armor that seemed designed more to protect from falls than from attacks. Commander Hanul stood beside Tay, his translation device ready. "They are yours to train," the commander said. "These are our best warriors. If anyone can learn, it will be them." Tay walked slowly along the front row, studying each warrior. They were all tall and graceful, but their arms were thin. Their legs looked like they might snap under heavy weight. He had his work cut out for him. "All right," Tay said loudly. "First lesson, humans are not like you. We evolved on a heavy gravity world. Our bodies are built for endurance and strength. You evolved on a light gravity world. Your bodies are built for intelligence and precision." He paused. "Neither is better. They're just different. The key is learning to use what you have." The warriors listened intently. "Show me how you fight," Tay said to Commander Hanul. "Attack me like I'm a Ravik." The commander looked uncertain, but agreed. He took a practice weapon, a light staff with a padded end. He approached Tay carefully, weapon raised, and made a quick strike. Tay sidestepped easily and grabbed the staff, pulling it from the commander's hands. The Velothi warrior stumbled forward, off balance. "That's the problem," Tay said. "You focus on precision strikes, perfect form, but combat isn't about being perfect, it's about being effective." He handed the staff back. "Your people need to fight dirty." "Dirty?" Commander Hanul translated the word with confusion. "Yes, dirty. Use tricks, set traps. Never fight fair if you can avoid it." Tay smiled. "Let me teach you the first rule of human combat. If you're in a fair fight, your tactics are wrong." Over the next 3 weeks, Tay rebuilt how the Velothi thought about fighting. He taught them to use their environment, how to set up tripping wires, how to create bottlenecks that forced enemies into kill zones, how to use their energy weapons more effectively by targeting weak points rather than going for perfect shots. The Velothi struggled at first. Their culture valued honor and fair combat. The idea of using tricks felt wrong to them. "Honor doesn't matter if you're dead," Tay told them bluntly. "The Raviks don't care about fair fighting, they care about killing you, so you need to care about surviving." He also taught them teamwork. The Velothi fought as individuals, each warrior trying to be the best. Tay showed them how humans fought in units, covering each other's weaknesses. "You," he pointed to a smaller warrior, "you're fast. Your job is to distract, draw the enemy's attention." He pointed to 3 stronger warriors. "You 3 form a wall. Hold the line while the fast ones attack from the sides." They practiced formations, defensive squares, fighting retreats, how to fall back without breaking apart. One morning, Queen Arin came to observe the training. She watched from a platform as Tay ran the warriors through drills. He made them practice for hours until they were exhausted. "That's enough," Commander Hanul finally called. "They need rest." "Rest?" Tay wiped sweat from his forehead. "I'm barely warmed up. This is the difference I'm talking about. Human endurance is our greatest advantage." He turned to the exhausted warriors. "When Raviks attack, they won't stop because you're tired. You need to build stamina. Every day we'll train a little longer, push a little harder." The warriors groaned but nodded. After training, Queen Arin invited Tay to walk with her through the gardens. Lyra skipped alongside them, practicing the defensive stances Tay had taught her. The queen didn't approve of her daughter learning combat, but Lyra insisted. "You are changing them," the queen observed. Not just how they fight, but how they think. That's the point, Tay said. Techniques are useless without the right mindset. Some of the elders are concerned. They say you are making our people too aggressive. Tay stopped walking and looked at her seriously. Your people are dying. Aggressive is what you need right now. You can go back to being peaceful scholars after you survive. The Queen sighed. You are right, of course. It is just difficult to watch our culture change. Culture that gets you killed isn't worth preserving, Tay said, then softened his tone. But I understand. Change is hard. They sat on a bench near a fountain. Lyra climbed into Tay's lap, tired from her practice. She fell asleep quickly, her small head resting against his chest. She loves you, the Queen said quietly. She talks about you constantly. Tay says this, and Tay showed me that. She's a good kid, Tay said, adjusting his arm so she was more comfortable. Smart, too. She picks up the defense moves faster than some of your warriors. Queen Arin smiled sadly. I worry about what will happen when you leave. She will be heartbroken. You've got 2.5 months to prepare her, Tay said. But yeah, it'll be tough. They sat in silence for a while. Tay noticed the Queen watching him with an expression he couldn't quite read. What? He asked. Nothing, she said. I was just thinking about how strange fate is. You crashed here by accident, saved my daughter by chance, and now you are changing the future of my entire species. No pressure or anything, Tay said dryly. The Queen laughed. It was the first time he'd heard her laugh, and the sound was like bells. Then the alarms started. They were loud, piercing sounds that echoed through the city. Warriors ran toward the walls. Citizens hurried toward shelters. Commander Hanul rushed into the garden. Ravix! A large pack approaching from the west. At least 20 of them. Tay carefully handed the sleeping Lyra to her mother. Get her to safety. I'm going with the warriors. No, the Queen said firmly. You are too valuable to risk. Those warriors have 3 weeks of training. They're not ready to fight alone. Tay was already running toward the walls. Besides, I need to see these Ravix for myself. He reached the western wall where warriors were positioning themselves. Through the crystal barriers, Tay could see the Ravix approaching through the forest. They were even bigger than the images had shown. Each one was the size of a large bear, with 6 powerful legs and armored scales covering their bodies. Their mouths had rows of teeth like a shark. They moved fast, crashing through the undergrowth with terrifying speed. Defensive positions! Tay shouted. Just like we practiced, small teams, overlapping fields of fire. The warriors scrambled into formation. Tay could see their fear, but they followed his instructions. The Ravix hit the energy barrier surrounding the city. The barrier held, but the creatures began tearing at it with their claws. Cracks appeared in the energy field. Wait for my signal, Tay said. Let them bunch up at the weak point. The Ravix focused their attack on one section. More and more of them crowded together, all trying to break through the same spot. Now, focus all fire on that group! Energy beams lanced out from the walls. The concentrated fire caught the Ravix by surprise. 3 of them fell immediately. The others scattered, but the warriors had already shifted their aim, targeting the ones breaking away from the group. Team 2. Cover the north flank! Don't let them circle around! The battle lasted 15 minutes. When it was over, 12 Ravix lay dead outside the barrier. The rest had retreated into the forest. Not a single Velothi warrior had been injured. Commander Hanul stared at the fallen Ravix in disbelief. We won. We actually won without losing anyone. You focused your fire, used the barrier to funnel them, didn't panic. Tay clapped him on the shoulder. You did good. Queen Arin appeared on the wall, having left Lyra with her guards. She looked at the dead Ravix, then at her celebrating warriors. It worked, she said softly. Your methods actually worked. This was just one attack, Tay warned. A small one. But yes, they're learning. That night, the city held an impromptu celebration. For the first time in years, they had defended themselves without casualties. Warriors toasted Tai with sweet Velati wine. Citizens thanked him in the streets. Tai sat with Commander Hanul, watching the celebration from a quiet balcony. "I misjudged you," the commander admitted. "When you first arrived, I thought you were just a lucky pilot who happened to be strong, but you are a true warrior." "I'm really not," Tai said. "I'm just a guy who doesn't want to see people die when I can help prevent it." "That is what makes you a warrior," Commander Hanul said. Later, as Tai returned to his quarters, he found Queen Arin waiting outside his door. She looked nervous, which was unusual for her. "I wanted to thank you personally," she said, "and to apologize." "For what?" "For underestimating what you could accomplish. For thinking of you as a tool to use rather than a person to respect." She met his eyes. "You have given my people hope. That is worth more than any debt." "You're welcome," Tai said simply. The Queen smiled and turned to leave, then paused. 2.5 months suddenly seems like a very short time. She walked away before Tai could ask what she meant. Tai entered his quarters and lay on his bed, thinking about the battle, about the celebration, about Lyra's sleeping face and the Queen's strange comment. He was supposed to be counting down the days until he could leave. So why did the thought of leaving suddenly feel complicated? 3 months had passed since Tai began training the Velati warriors. The transformation was remarkable. What had been frightened scholars pretending to be soldiers had become a real defensive force. They still weren't strong, but they were smart and coordinated. Tai stood in the war room with Queen Arin, Commander Hanel, and several other leaders. Maps of the surrounding territories covered the crystal walls, showing Velati settlements and recent Ravik movements. "The northern settlement of Silver Stream has gone 2 full weeks without an attack," Commander Hanul reported. "They've implemented the defensive formations Tai taught us. The Raviks tested their defenses twice and were driven back both times." "Casualties?" the Queen asked. "None." Murmurs of approval ran through the room. Before Tai's training, any Ravik attack meant deaths. Now they were surviving encounters without losses. "What about the eastern settlements?" Tai asked, studying the maps. "Eastern settlements are more difficult," Elder Yuna said. "They refuse to abandon the traditional fighting methods. They say the new tactics are dishonorable." Tai frowned. "Dishonorable? They'd rather die with honor than live?" "It is complicated," the Queen said diplomatically. "Not all of my people adapt to change easily." "Then they'll keep dying," Tai said bluntly. "I can't force them to accept help." The meeting continued for another hour, discussing supply routes, defensive positions, and training schedules. When it finally ended, Tai was exhausted. These meetings happened almost daily now, and they drained him more than physical training ever did. Queen Arin asked him to stay behind as the others left. "You look tired," she observed. "I am tired," Tai admitted. "I'm not built for politics. Give me something to fight, and I'm fine. But these meetings with elders who argue about tradition while people die? That's harder than any battle." The Queen smiled slightly. "Welcome to leadership. It is exhausting, is it not?" "How do you do this every day?" "Because I must." She walked to the window, looking out at the city. Someone has to make the hard choices. Bear the burden. Disappoint those who cannot be pleased. Tai joined her at the window. Over the past months, he had spent countless hours with the Queen, planning strategy, discussing Velati culture, sometimes just talking about nothing important. He had come to respect her intelligence and dedication. "You're good at it," he said. "The Queen thing. Your people love you." "Some of them love me. Others tolerate me. A few actively work against my decisions." She glanced at him. But I suppose that is also part of leadership. Sounds lonely. It is. She paused. Less so lately. Something in her tone made Tay look at her more carefully. The Queen was watching him with an expression that made his heart beat faster. Before he could respond, the door burst open. Lyra ran in, followed by a flustered tutor. "Sabah!" Lyra cried, using the Velothi word she had started calling Tay. It meant something like chosen father or second father. "I am so sorry, Your Majesty," the tutor said, bowing. "She escaped from lessons again." Lyra climbed onto Tay's back, wrapping her arms around his neck. She had grown taller over the months, but was still small and light. "It's okay," Tay said, reaching back to steady her. "What's wrong, little one?" "The tutor says I must learn history, but history is boring. I want to learn fighting like you teach." "History is important," Tay said. "How can you lead your people someday if you don't understand where they came from?" "Will you teach me history instead?" Lyra asked hopefully. "You make things interesting." Queen Aren laughed. "She has a point. You do have a gift for teaching." "I'm not qualified to teach Velothi history," Tay protested. "Then teach her human history," the Queen suggested. "It would be good for her to learn about other cultures." So Tay found himself sitting in the garden with Lyra, telling her stories about Earth, about wars and peace, great leaders and terrible tyrants, amazing discoveries and devastating mistakes. Lyra listened with wide eyes, asking countless questions. Queen Aren joined them, sitting quietly and listening. "Humans sound very complicated," Lyra said finally. "We are," Tay agreed. "We can be incredibly kind and incredibly cruel, sometimes at the same time." "Like when you are kind to me but mean to warriors during training?" Lyra asked innocently. Tay laughed. "Exactly like that." As the sun set, painting the crystal city in shades of orange and purple, a messenger arrived with urgent news. Commander Hanul needed Ty immediately. Tay found the commander at the communications center, looking at a screen with concern. "What's wrong?" Tay asked. "We intercepted a human signal," Hanul said. "A cargo convoy passing through this sector. They picked up your distress beacon from 3 months ago." Tay's heart jumped. "My distress beacon? But I thought—" "We told you it was disabled," the commander said quietly. "That was not entirely true. We disabled it after you agreed to help us. But the signal had already been broadcasting for days. This convoy just now entered range to receive it." "You lied to me," Tay said, anger rising in his chest. "The Queen ordered it. She feared you would use it to escape before the debt was balanced." Tay wanted to punch something. Instead, he took a deep breath. "What does the message say?" "They are asking if you need rescue. They will arrive in 2 days." 2 days. Tay had 2 weeks left on his agreement with the Queen. 2 weeks, and then he would be free to leave anyway. But now there was a ship coming early. "I need to think," Tay said. He walked through the city, not really seeing where he was going. His mind spun. He could leave, get on that ship and go home, see his family again. Return to his normal life. But what about the Velothi? 2 weeks wasn't much time, but it was still training time, still preparation time. If he left now, would they be ready? And what about Lyra? She called him Sabah now. She had nightmares sometimes about being trapped under the crystal branches, and only Tay could calm her down. What about the Queen? That thought surprised him. When had he started thinking of her as Aren instead of the Queen? When had her smile become something he looked forward to seeing? He found himself at the crashed site of his ship. The Velothi had moved it here, to a memorial garden they had created. They had turned it into a symbol of the day everything changed. Queen Aren was there, standing alone in front of the damaged ship. "I heard about the convoy," she said without turning around. "Did you know about the beacon?" Tay asked. Yes, I ordered it disabled. I am sorry. You keep saying you're sorry while doing things you know are wrong. Yes, she agreed. That is what it means to be queen, to do terrible things for good reasons. She finally turned to face him. The convoy will be here in 2 days. I am officially releasing you from your debt. You are free to leave with them. Why? Tay asked, surprised. I still have 2 weeks on our agreement. Because I realized something, Oren said softly. I have been selfish. I kept telling myself I was doing this for my people, but that was not entirely true. Part of me wanted to keep you here for other reasons. What reasons? Because my daughter loves you. Because my people respect you. Because... She trailed off, looking away. Because I have enjoyed having you here, your honesty, your strength, the way you challenge me to think differently. She met his eyes again. That is not fair to you. You have given us so much. I cannot ask for more. Tay stood silent, processing her words. The queen was giving him freedom. No tricks, no conditions. He could leave. What if I stayed? He asked quietly. Hope flickered across her face. What? Not forever, but until our original agreement ends. 2 more weeks. Finish what I started. You would do that? Voluntarily? I'm already here. The warriors still need refinement. And I promised Lyra I would teach her the story of the first moon landing. He smiled slightly. Might as well finish the job. Erin looked like she might cry. Thank you. Besides, Tay added, I should probably talk to that convoy. Explain the situation. Maybe establish a proper first contact between humans and Velathi. You would do that? Help us make contact with your people? You need allies. Humans need trading partners. Seems logical. He paused. But no more secrets. No more lies. If we're going to build something here, it needs to be based on honesty. Agreed, Erin said firmly. Complete honesty from now on. They stood together in the garden, looking at the damaged ship that had brought them together. 2 days felt like no time at all. 2 weeks felt like not enough. Tay pushed those thoughts away. He had made his choice. He would stay and finish his commitment. After that, he would figure out what came next. But as he walked back to the city with the queen beside him, he couldn't help wondering if 2 weeks would really be goodbye, or if it might be something else entirely. The human cargo convoy arrived right on schedule. 3 ships, larger and more modern than Tay's old vessel. They settled into orbit above Valara, and Captain Kim sent down a shuttle to make contact. Tay met the shuttle at the designated landing area outside Luminara. Queen Aren stood beside him with Commander Hanul and a group of warriors nearby. Lyra held Tay's hand tightly, nervous about meeting new humans. The shuttle doors opened and Captain Kim stepped out. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She looked at Tay, then at the Velathi surrounding him, and her expression became very confused. Pilot Tay? She asked in Korean. We received your distress signal months ago. We thought you were dead or in danger. But you look... She gestured at his clean clothes and healthy appearance. Fine. Tay smiled. It's a long story, Captain. Let me introduce you to Queen Aren of the Velathi people. This is her planet. The Queen stepped forward and spoke through her translation device. Welcome to Valara. We are honored by your arrival. Captain Kim bowed slightly, showing proper respect. Thank you, though I'm very confused about what's happening here. Join the club, Tay said. It took me 3 months to figure it out myself. Over the next hour, Tay explained everything. How he crashed, saved Lyra, became trapped by the life debt, and eventually chose to help the Velathi defend themselves. Captain Kim listened carefully, occasionally asking questions. So you're here voluntarily now? She asked. Yes, Tay confirmed. I have 1 more week on my commitment, then I'm free to choose what I want to do. And what do you want to do? Tay glanced at Arin and Lyra. I'm still figuring that out. Captain Kim spent the day touring Luminara. She was impressed by the Velothi technology and culture. She watched a training session where Velothi warriors demonstrated the techniques Tai had taught them. You've built something remarkable here, she told Tay privately. These people were dying. Now they have a real chance. They're good students, Tay said. They just needed a different perspective. That evening they held a formal dinner. Velothi and humans sat together, sharing food and stories. It was the first official contact between their species, and everyone was on their best behavior. After dinner, Captain Kim made an announcement. I've spoken with my crew. We're prepared to offer the Velothi people a formal trade agreement. We have goods and services you need. You have technology and knowledge we could benefit from. Queen Arin looked surprised and pleased. We would welcome such an agreement. There's more, Captain Kim continued. I've also put out a call to other human ships and colonies. If you're interested, we could help establish a permanent human presence here. Not taking over, but working together. Humans could provide physical labor and security. You could provide technology and scientific knowledge. A partnership, Arin said thoughtfully. Yes, that could work very well. Elder Yuna, who had been quiet through dinner, suddenly spoke up. And what would happen to our culture? Our traditions? Would we become just another human colony? No, Captain Kim said firmly. This would be your world, your rules. Humans would be guests and partners, nothing more. Any humans who came here would have to respect Velothi law and customs. The elder still looked skeptical, but she nodded slowly. The next morning, Tai woke to alarms. Not practice alarms, real ones. He ran to the walls. Commander Hanul was already there, looking at something through viewing equipment. What is it? Tai asked. Ravix, the commander said grimly, but not a normal pack. Look. Tai took the viewing equipment. In the distance, hundreds of Ravix were gathering, maybe thousands. It was the largest group he had ever seen. They've never gathered in numbers like this before, Hanul said. Something has changed. Something has driven them together. Queen Arin arrived, quickly followed by Captain Kim. This is bad, Tai said. Your defenses weren't designed for an assault this large. Can we evacuate? Arin asked. Not enough time, Commander Hanul reported. They'll reach us within the hour. Captain Kim pulled out a communication device. I can call my ships. They have weapons. Not military grade, but enough to help from orbit. Do it, Tai said. We need every advantage. The next hour was chaos. Warriors took positions. Citizens moved to shelters. Tai ran through the city, making sure everyone knew their roles. He found Lyra with her tutors, being taken to the deepest shelter. Saba! She cried when she saw him. She ran and hugged him tight. I'm scared. Tai knelt down to her level. I know. But remember what I taught you? Fear is okay. It keeps us alert. The key is not letting it control you. Will you be safe? Lyra asked. I'll be fine, Tai promised, hoping it was true. I'll come find you when it's over. Arin appeared, come to see her daughter to safety. She kissed Lyra's forehead. Go with your tutors. Be brave. After Lyra left, Arin turned to Tai. You should go to the shelter too. You are not a Velothi warrior. This is not your fight. Like hell it isn't, Tai said. I trained these warriors. I'm seeing this through. You could die. So could you. So could they. He gestured at the warriors on the walls. We do this together, or not at all. Arin looked like she wanted to argue, but there was no time. The Ravix were approaching. Tai took his position on the main wall. Captain Kim stood nearby with a weapon her crew had given her. I'm a cargo captain, she said nervously. I haven't been in a real fight in 20 years. Welcome back to it, Tai said. Just point and shoot. Don't think too hard. The Ravix hit like a tsunami. They swarmed the energy barriers from all sides. The barriers held at first, but the sheer weight of numbers began to create cracks. "Concentrated fire!" Tay shouted. "Sectors 3 and 7, focus on the largest groups." Energy beams lanced out. Ravix fell, but more took their place. The barriers started failing in multiple places. Then fire rained from the sky. Captain Kim's ships firing from orbit. The orbital strikes were devastating, carving huge gaps in the Ravix swarm. "Yes!" Commander Hanul cheered. "It's working!" But the Ravix adapted. They spread out, making themselves harder to target from orbit. Some broke through the barriers and entered the city. Tay ran to meet them with a squad of warriors. This was close combat, the most dangerous kind. But the warriors used everything he had taught them, working in teams, using the environment, fighting smart instead of fair. A Ravik charged Tay. He dodged, grabbed a fallen crystal branch, and smashed it across the creature's head. The branch shattered, but the Ravik went down. The battle raged for hours. Tay lost track of time. He just kept fighting, kept moving, kept shouting orders to warriors who needed guidance. Finally, the Raviks began to retreat. The orbital strikes had done too much damage. The organized defense had proven too costly. The swarm broke apart and fled back into the forest. Tay stood on the wall, breathing hard, covered in cuts and bruises. Around him, warriors cheered weakly. They had won. They had actually won against the largest attack ever. Commander Hanul appeared, limping but alive. "Casualty report," he said quietly. 15 warriors injured, 3 seriously. 1 citizen killed when her shelter collapsed. 1 death, against thousands of Raviks. It was a miracle. Queen Arin found Tay in the aftermath. She looked exhausted, her elegant clothes dirty and torn. "You're hurt," she said, noticing blood on his arm. "It's nothing," Tay said. "Just scratches." "How's Lyra?" "Safe. Scared, but safe." Aaron looked at the dead Raviks beyond the walls. "We could not have survived this without you, without Captain Kim's ships, without everything you taught us." "You did the fighting," Tay said. "I just showed you how." Captain Kim approached, looking shaken. "That was insane. I've never seen anything like that." "Welcome to Valara," Tay said tiredly. "Still interested in that partnership?" Captain Kim laughed weakly. "Actually, yes. More than ever. You're going to need help rebuilding defenses, and my superiors will definitely want to establish a presence here after I tell them what happened." Over the next 3 days, they worked on cleanup and repairs. Human crews from the cargo ships came down to help. They worked alongside Valathi, and Ty noticed how naturally the two species cooperated. Humans provided strength. Valathi provided knowledge. Together, they accomplished more than either could alone. On the evening of the 3rd day, Ty sat in the garden with Aaron and Lyra. The child was back to her cheerful self, chattering about everything that had happened. "Captain Kim says more humans will come," Lyra said excitedly. "She says I can learn about Earth. Visit someday, maybe." "Maybe," Arin said, smiling at her daughter's enthusiasm. Later, after Lyra went to bed, Arin and Tay walked through the quiet city. "Your debt is balanced," Arin said. "More than balanced. You are free to leave with Captain Kim tomorrow." "I know," Tay said. "Will you?" Tay stopped walking. He looked at the crystal city, now filled with both Valathi and human workers. He thought about the warriors who had fought beside him, about Lyra's smile, about the queen standing next to him. "I've been thinking," he said. "Captain Kim needs someone to coordinate between humans and Valathi, someone who understands both cultures. Someone who can make sure the partnership works." "Are you suggesting yourself?" Arin asked carefully. "I'm suggesting that maybe I crashed here for a reason. Maybe this is where I'm supposed to be." He turned to face her. "I'd stay as humanity's first ambassador. No debt, no obligation, just choice." Arin's eyes filled with tears. You would truly choose to stay? Yes. Tay smiled. I started as your prisoner, became your teacher. Maybe now I can be your partner, help build something good here. What about your family, your life on Earth? I'll visit them, stay in contact, but this feels right. He reached out and took her hand. Besides, someone needs to teach Lyra proper human history, and I have a feeling you and I have a lot more work to do. Aaron laughed and wiped her tears. The elders will be scandalized. A human ambassador in the royal palace. Let them be scandalized, Tay said. Change is hard, but it's also necessary. 6 months later, a small human settlement stood near Luminara. Human and Velothi children played together. Trade flowed both ways. The Raviks still attacked occasionally, but the Joint Defense Force drove them back every time. Ty stood on his balcony, watching the mixed community below. Lyra was teaching human children how to speak Velothi. Commander Hanol was learning human combat techniques from newly arrived soldiers. Queen Aren joined him, slipping her hand into his. Their relationship had evolved slowly, carefully, into something neither had expected but both welcomed. Any regrets? She asked. Tay thought about his crashed ship, now a memorial in the garden, about the life he had left behind, about the strange path that had brought him here. No regrets, he said. I came to this world by accident, stayed as a prisoner, but I remain by choice. That makes all the difference. Below them, humans and Velothi worked together, building a future neither species could have created alone. Two worlds, meeting by chance, creating something new. Tay had been a cargo pilot, then a teacher, then a warrior. Now he was a bridge between worlds. And for the first time in a very long time, he felt like he was exactly where he belonged. The stars above Valara shone bright, no longer a path home, but a reminder of infinite possibilities. Ty looked at Aaron, at the city, at the future they were building together. He had saved an alien child. The Queen had refused to let him leave. But in the end, he refused to leave on his own.